The views expressed in the articles are obviously the opinions of the writers and not me. I make no claims for the veracity of the information presented, so use your head and check these things out for yourself before trying anything you hear about on VOB. And if you've never exercised before, get started. It's never too late, but be sure to check with your doctor first to see if everything is okay, which you should be doing every year anyway. Welcome to Voices of Bodybuilding Podcast, Episode 5. I've been so happy to be getting some great feedback from all of you for the first few episodes. Thank you to everyone for listening, and please, if you like what we're doing, be sure to tell people about us. That really helps us a lot. This week, we have some great stuff for you. The fitness article explores the reasons why you may keep falling short of your fitness goals. And that's all of us, isn't it? Fitness writer Jeannine Trimboli outlines some very good things to keep in mind. The bodybuilding article attempts to answer, with real science, if sex can help or hinder muscle building goals. And you don't even really need to have a current sex partner for this to apply, if you get my drift. Dave Pulcinella joins me to rant about a young bodybuilder and about young bodybuilders in general. I'll see if I can get him to say, "These kids nowadays," or "back in my day," like the real old curmudgeon that he is. We talk about Bostin Loyd, a young bodybuilder who recently and very publicly experimented on his body with a potentially fatal drug and lost 30 pounds of muscle in the process. And finally, today's off-topic article is about how to protect yourself from fake news. It's a huge concern right now, but don't worry, this won't be a politically biased piece. It's straight down the middle neutral. We all need to watch out for assholes on the internet who will do anything to get your clicks, even if that means dividing us with lies. Jeannine Trimboli has been a fitness professional for over 20 years and is the creator of Real Fit Life. That's Real Fit in brackets, Life, which is a gym, the name of her personal training program, her website, and basically an entire fitness movement. This is from her website to explain a little bit more about who she is. Quote, "As a woman who worked hard to regain her shape and fitness levels after the birth of each of her 4 children, all the while living a really busy lifestyle, Jeannine understands the obstacles you deal with." End quote. Jeannine is a classic success story, turning her love of exercise and nutrition into a thriving business which is just growing and growing. She has recently just expanded her fitness facility in Albany, Pennsylvania, and in this blog from her website, she outlines a few reasons why many of us fail time and time again at reaching our fitness goals. This is Why You're Not Reaching Your Fitness Goals by Jeannine M. Trimboli, published February 13th, 2017 on realfitlife.net. For every client that I've had that has acquired success, there have been many who've fallen to the wayside because they just can't seem to get out of their own darn way. While this can be frustrating to me as a trainer who wants to help everyone, I know that not everyone is ready to be helped. But it doesn't mean I won't stop trying. If you've been on and off the fitness wagon for a while now and cannot seem to pinpoint why you don't see results, you're most likely one of the people I'm speaking of. But guess what? You don't have to be. But first, you will need to change some of your current habits and fix your ways of thinking about fitness. Here are the most common issues I see in clients who cannot ultimately stick with it to reach their fitness goals. 1. You're trying to do too many things at once. New habits are hard to implement. It requires a lot of mental energy as well as physical energy to acquire new skills and learn new things. It's okay to aspire to learn many new things and to want to always be learning and improving, but you have to focus on one goal at a time. Pick which goal you want to focus on first. 2. Your goal is unrealistic. If you set yourself up for failure from the get-go, you are certain to get discouraged and quit before you've barely even started. If your busy life makes it hard for you to get to the gym twice a week, don't pick a program that requires you to go 4 or 5. If you have a tight budget, don't join a gym you'll only have to quit in 3 months because you ran out of cash. Are you not a morning person? Don't commit to a program that starts at the crack of dawn. Do your kids' schedules demand that you drive them all over creation at all times of the week for sports or whatever? Don't commit to a training program that requires you to be available at a set time on a certain day of the week. Once you've missed enough, you won't go back. Make sure you set goals that line up with your real-life circumstances. 3. You're stubborn and a know-it-all. Every now and then a prospective client will come to me to help them accomplish their fitness goals, thinking that they would then dictate to me what they did and did not want to do. If you know what you're doing already, go get a commercial gym membership and do your magic. If you aren't getting the results you want, however, and you come to me for advice and assistance to reach your goal, we'll be doing it my way, thank you very much. And please spare me your thoughts on what you did in your high school heydays, or what your favorite social media guru said you should be doing. Clearly, those things haven't helped you either. A professional needs to earn your trust, but you also need to step back and give them the opportunity to do so. If you're convinced from the start that your way is better, you won't get results. In fact, you'll probably self-sabotage just like you did without a trainer, only now it's costing you more. 4. It's not really a priority. When new members start our training program at Real Fit Life, we have them fill out a questionnaire. One question asks new members what their level of commitment is on a scale of 1 to 10. Most people put between an 8 and 10, and I really think that is true when they're filling out the form. But then time goes on and they start to wander off in their resolve. Suddenly they can't make appointments because the weather is too nice, and they want to hang out with friends, or they make an unnecessary purchase that drains their budget and they can no longer afford training. They show up late on the regular or start scheduling other things that conflict with their training times. Our members who have the greatest long-term success are the ones who clearly know why they are there and why it's important to them. You need to define those things as well and constantly remind yourself. 5. You have a routine, but not a program design. New prospective members usually want to tell me about their routines in the gym. Well, guess what? Part of the reason you aren't getting results is because you have a routine. If you are doing the same exercises, for the same number of reps, and at the same weight every time you go to the gym, you've stagnated big time. Yes, you may have seen results when you started that routine as a beginner, but that's because it was new. If you want to continue to see results, you need to be switching up your program about every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how frequently you train. And your program should be designed with a specific goal in mind, not just based off random selection. You also need to be applying progressive overload to your program and pushing yourself to do a little more all the time. 6. You're afraid of looking like you don't know what you're doing and afraid of failing. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you already have. If you want to accomplish greater things, you are going to have to travel outside your comfort zone. Well, guess what happens when you do that? You eventually get better, and your fear of trying new things eventually turns into a zest for trying new things. If something new is scary for you, break it down into smaller steps and give yourself a slightly longer window of time to tackle it. Not too long, though, or you'll never do it. And 7, it's hard. When you're a beginner at something, it's so exciting, isn't it? Results come quickly because it's all new stuff and your body is like a sponge. Then you're not a beginner anymore, and all those rapid results stop showing. Suddenly you're having to work a lot harder just to see a sliver of progress. Welcome to the world of a seasoned fitness enthusiast. This is when the work really starts, and you decide you're either invested and in this for the long haul, or you'd just rather go back to the way you were before you saw any improvement. Setbacks and failure are in your future, and you're either going to get past them by working through, seeing them as the small bumps in the road that they are, or you're going to give up This is also the typical moment when people assume the program isn't working, so they quit and jump onto yet another fad bandwagon, thinking some other program is going to give the magic results they've yet to find. Nope, it's not happening. So don't give up. Acknowledge the beauty of life's challenges. Put your big girl pants on, or big boy pants on, and get back in the ring. It's the only option that's going to make you feel good about yourself. There is no magic fix, just hard work. Trust me. Now get out there. I think Jeannine makes some really good points there, and she's obviously speaking from experience, having been a trainer for over 20 years. I know a lot of this might seem basic to those of you who have been training for a long time, but it's a good idea every once in a while to just remind yourself of the simple basic fundamentals of why you got into this and how you should be thinking about it. And every so often I need a slap in the face to remind me, that I need to shake things up or do things differently. And I think Jeannine outlines that really well here. You guys should definitely check out her website, www.realfitlife.net. And of course, her Facebook pages, the Jeannine Trimboli Facebook page and the Real Fit Life Facebook page. Both are great resources for anyone who is into fitness and bodybuilding. Should I have sex before going to the gym? Will it reduce my gains? If you are someone who is lucky enough to have this dilemma, this next article might be some help. Various cultures have advocated abstaining from wasting one's precious sexual fluids. Sorry, this is really gross. In order to maintain maximum male strength. But I've never been convinced that that's true. Again, maybe that was just me trying to justify masturbation during those times in my life that I was single. But seriously, if you don't have a partner, masturbation is a necessary and good thing, if not overdone, of course. For one thing, the prostate gland in men needs to be emptied periodically in order to be healthy. I mean, that's just science. But that's an article for another time. I definitely will get into that because that's a very interesting topic. If you are strictly concerned whether or not sexual release of any kind will actually decrease your muscle growth potential, then listen up, as health and fitness writer Shannon Clark explains. Does Sex Affect Muscle Growth? By Shannon Clark, posted on bodybuilding.com, April 25th, 2016. Ever wonder if your sex life has to come at the expense of your ability to build muscle mass in the gym? If so, you aren't alone. Many people wonder if regular bedroom time is something that's really going to hurt their progress, and some are even willing to make sacrifices if it's true. While it is definitely true that there is a connection between sex and muscle building, it's important to understand fully what this connection is. And here are some important factors to think about. Potentially, one of the most critical connections between sex and muscle building is the zinc status within the body. Whenever a male has an orgasm, zinc will be released in the semen. Zinc is a critical nutrient that is required for proper sperm growth and development, and when levels fall short, infertility is often the consequence. In addition to this, zinc also plays a key role in muscle development as well, as it is closely tied in with total testosterone levels. When zinc levels are low in the body, there is more likely to be a noticeably lower sex drive, as well as a difficulty shown with generating more lean muscle mass. So then, because zinc is lost through orgasm, if you're frequently having sex but not replacing this lost zinc through your diet, it is very likely that you're going to fall into that deficit. In order to prevent this from happening and make sure you not only maintain healthy libido levels, but also keep progressing towards your goal of muscle building, you'll want to fill your diet with foods rich in zinc, such as oysters, shellfish, wheat germ, liver, cashews, pine nuts, and pecan nuts. The next connection to know about when it comes to sex and muscle building is the connection it has with your strength levels. If you've ever taken notice of yourself, most guys will find that immediately after sex, they feel very relaxed and often want to fall asleep. At this point, there is a very high release of oxytocin in the body, which serves to really relax you and could cause you to feel slightly weaker than before the sex took place. This relaxation phase does not last for an extended period of time, however, and you will return to your usual hormonal levels in the body. But the take-home message is that trying to attempt a training session immediately after you're involved in sexual activity may not be the best of approaches. Aim for at least a 3 to 4 hour time span afterwards to allow the hormones to normalize again and for you to recover your strength and energy. With the issue of zinc and the effects on testosterone aside, another correlation to look at is the overall impact of frequent sexual activity on testosterone and libido levels. For most men, the more frequently they are engaging in sex, the higher their libido levels tend to be. If a large break is taken, for whatever reason, at first libido will increase, but over time, if release is not achieved, levels may begin to drop. Studies have also demonstrated that when testosterone levels are elevated in the body, it has a positive impact on libido levels. Therefore, when testosterone levels are higher, this will, in return, keep you interested in sex, and the act of sex will serve as a positive reinforcement, further maintaining the cycle. Since testosterone levels are one of the primary predictors of muscle growth and development, having higher levels in the body will help to induce greater muscle gains. Obviously, the workouts must be performed in conjunction to stimulate the muscle growth response, but doing everything possible to maintain high testosterone will work to your benefit. Finally, the last impact of sex on muscle building is going to be with regards to your focus levels. Maintaining focus, both in the gym and out for the actual gym sessions, will be critical to see optimal results. In some extreme cases, if you become too fixated on sexual activity, you may prioritize this ahead of regular workout sessions, which will then have a large impact on the overall results you experience. Obviously, this will be to the extreme, and most people will have no trouble maintaining a normal balance between the two. But if you feel like you may be pushing the barrier between an unhealthy balance, it is worthwhile to seriously consider. For many people, this will never be an issue, as their workouts are directly tied in to their desire to become more sexually appealing, as they work out for a large part to look good for members of the opposite sex. So by keeping up with their workouts regularly, they will help promote the chances of frequent intercourse. So the next time you find yourself questioning what the impact of sex is on your muscle building efforts, keep these points in mind. The good news is that those who do take a more active role in regular workouts and maintaining a good diet are far more likely to be healthy and thus experience fewer sexual problems such as premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction. So you won't have to worry about either of those impacting your overall ability to perform in bed. As with anything in life, balance is key, and as long as balance is achieved, you should have no worries about maintaining a healthy sex life while making the absolute most of your muscle building efforts in the gym. Well, thank you, Shannon. It looks like she's giving us the go-ahead to get laid as often as we can convince someone to have sex with us, more or less. Not really a lot of surprising information here. I didn't know much about the zinc aspect, but I was very familiar with the lethargy aspect of having sex too close to a workout. I mean, I've had those instances where I've gone to try to work out after having sex of some kind or another, and just feel tired. You just don't have that focus and that energy that you would normally have. Actually, I prefer doing the workout when you're full of energy, sexual and otherwise, and then afterwards in that come down period where you're feeling really good about yourself, not only because you got the workout in, but because of all the great hormones coursing through your body after a workout. I find that sex afterwards is way good, really good. And actually for me, the time of day has something to do with it as well. For me, sex in the afternoon is much more intense than at any other time of day. I mean, I like it in the morning or at night, but for some reason, 1, 2, 3, 4, even 4 o'clock in the afternoon, everything is just much stronger and more intense for me. I'm definitely an afternoon delight kind of guy. Don't know if you wanted to know that about me, but now you do, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's in your head forever. Here we are. It's Voices of Bodybuilding with Dave Pulcinella. This is the Dave Pulcinella segment. And this week, Dave sent me a text that he wants to talk about Bostin Loyd. And the text your text to me was, Bostin Loyd loses 30 pounds of muscle in a week while using a potentially deadly drug. First of all, what the hell is he doing? And can you really lose 30 pounds of muscle in a week?
You gotta keep an eye on that boy. He gets out of control. Bostin, I love him to death, but the thing with Bostin is he still has a childlike mind, and his attention span is very short.
How old is he?
23, maybe.
All right.
At this point, still very young. And he's always doing things like this, where he'll do like this protocol where he'll do like 0 carbs and a bunch of DNP and light his insides on fire and lose 30 pounds as some sort of starting point for some rebound effect kind of bulking phase to follow. And then he'll do some kind of backloading thing for a week, and then he'll pull all his testosterone out and just do anabolics and see how that goes with a lower carb plan for the 3rd week while, rotating his proteins and doing it.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Dude, I was brought up in the sport where, go ahead, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, but for anyone who might not know who we're talking about, I want to back up for a second and say Bostin Loyd is a young bodybuilder. He's pretty good, right? He's got some muscle on him, but he's become well known from doing these kinds of stunts and doing them publicly with steroids. Yeah, whereas in the past, steroids were kind of like the hidden secret of bodybuilding. Now it's pretty much out in the open, but he's taken it to the next level, and he's doing it in the spotlight on purpose to get attention. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he actually went through his entire site injection protocol on a YouTube video.
But does he do some of these things in an extreme way just because he likes the attention, or because he really thinks they'll work?
Well, he likes to bring what he calls the truth to the public. He thinks that the kids these days coming up in the sport should know that this is what the sport's about. And I get where he's coming from. I mean, he takes a huge risk in doing this, but he gains a lot of people's respect for being so candid.
Hold on. In my intro to this that you haven't heard, I bet my listeners that I could get you to say these kids nowadays.
Shut up. You did not.
I did. Wait till you hear it. It's funny.
These kids these days.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but it's like a recurring theme with younger bodybuilders. I was brought up in the sport where you came up with a very effective repetitive protocol. You would compose this thing very carefully as far as the nutrition is concerned, and the training and everything, and you would lock into it to the exclusion of all else for 12 weeks to see what was on the other end. A guy like Bostin, his head's over here, then it's over here, and then he's over here. And then, so recently he did this thing where he did 0 carbs, did high volume training, and a bunch of DNP, which is a very volatile, very dangerous fat burner that is like 1 molecule away from rat poison or Jesus. TNT.
Yeah.
Actually. And lost like 30 pounds in 10 days as like a prelude to this thing where he was going to then rebound and do a bunch of carbs and blow up to, I guess, a place where he hadn't been before.
No, seriously, 30 pounds in 10 days?
Honestly, the number is, if that's not the number, it's damn close.
I don't even think cancer can do that.
I mean, I haven't been taking notes on it, but it's been on my feed, so I've been noticing it.
I think dipping your foot in acid might do that.
Yeah. Well, basically, you are dipping your foot in acid when you take DMV.
Okay.
And he's a pioneer in taking things to the edge of how much you can do without dying, and bringing it to that level and bringing it right to that brink.
Is he the ADHD bodybuilder? Is he just so impatient that he keeps trying these?
Well, this is where I'm headed with this. They all are.
Oh.
No one, I don't see anyone locking into, I'm going to eat this, and this at these times, in these amounts,
right,
combined with this training and 20 minutes of cardio, every day for 12 weeks and see what's at the other end. Then, and only truly then, can you monitor what each aspect is doing for you or not doing for you, and take your notes based on that. Everybody I see now is doing low carbs one week, no carbs another week, carb backloading another week, the bulletproof diet the next week, carb loading, carb depleting, no cardio, 3 hours of cardio. Then they're going to do this. They're going to drop 30 pounds. Then they're going to put 40 pounds on. Then they're going to hold that for a week. Then they're going to drop their carbs. Then they're going to put their carbs sideways. Then they're going to do this. And then they're going to rotate their and they're going to
a carb enema.
How do you fucking know what's working? How do you know what's not working? You're sticking to each thing for about a week.
Yeah,
and then you're switching it up.
Yeah.
Give your body a chance to see what's at the other end of a protocol by sticking with it for an appropriate amount of time, and then doing your feedback and taking your notes based on what your body did in that 12-week period of time. The problem with that is that you have to be very patient, meticulous, and you have to wait for it.
And you think 12 weeks is a reasonable amount of time?
Yeah, that's your basic, textbook frame of time that you should do something.
But the problem is after 12 weeks, if you've been doing the wrong thing, now you've just wasted 12 weeks. And
you will know way before
fatter or whatever.
That's the thing. But how are you going to know?
Right.
I mean, what he just did, and I could look into it further, but I think he just did a whole bunch of DMP. And I remember the pictures of him after he did this, after the 10 days or 2 weeks, whatever. He was really, really small. He had lost a lot of muscle, and he knew it. And he took some pictures where he just looked scrawny. And I'm like, you don't have to go there to do the part 2 that he did, where he carved up and then put on 40 pounds. You know what I mean? You could have put that extra 10 pounds on doing it a different way without putting your body through such a volatile thing and having to go through that initial phase of looking like a tennis player.
Wow. And needless to say, it's dangerous, right?
Yeah, I mean that's an aside as far as I'm concerned. Because to be honest with you, I mean I just don't understand, and I see it all the time. It's like they stick to one thing for no more than a week, and then they're doing something else, or even day to day. Today, it was a leg day, so I did 3 times the carbs I normally do, and then tomorrow I just won't do any. Like, why? Why just have a meal plan that has X amount of carbs, and X amount of carbs, and X amount of, and do that every day and just see what's on the other side. So instead of like overcompensating one day, then undercompensating the other day, how do you know what's working? How do you know what's doing what? Everything's changing every day.
Where is this all coming from?
It comes from lack of patience. This sport, if nothing else, requires you to really sit back and allow a protocol to work and allow it to do its thing. And it takes time. It's not going to happen in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. However, you can see instantaneous, what seems like gratifying results if you fuck with or manipulate the carbs up or down, the volume up or down. So, it's more interesting to someone like Bostin to lose 30 pounds and then gain 40 than it is to have a starting point and just gain 10 pounds of muscle over 8 weeks.
There's an analogy in the supplement world. There's a reason that there's a lot of pre-workouts out there, because people love the fact when you drink something and you feel a feeling.
Right. Exactly. So for someone like Bostin, I mean, he's too much of a daredevil to do it the way I'm talking about. He needs to feel that roller coaster, so he needs to be like, okay, I'm going to get really, really small. I'm going to show you how small I can get in 10 days so that the next 10 days after that, I'm going to show you how big I can get.
Well, that's only good if you're going to be bigger than when you started.
Well, you will be, but the thing is you could have done it without the initial I'm going to get real skinny part.
Well, isn't a certain part of this now part of his social media persona? Absolutely,
and he knows that. He's no dummy when it comes to that.
He's got a pretty big following, right?
Yes, he does.
So he's probably making some money off of this.
Yes, he is.
So this daredevil routine actually might be paying off for him.
but he would be doing it anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of doofuses also doing it, not making a lot of money off of it, and risking their health.
Well, many people are duplicating what he's doing. He's got that sort of influence on those younger people. And to them, he looks, like a pro bodybuilder to these kids.
Right.
I mean, he's definitely carrying some size. But the synthol use, the DNP use, the 10 grams of gear a week use, are not things anyone should be doing. Especially, kids coming up in the sport who haven't even given their bodies a chance to respond to small levels of anabolics and low levels of this and that, putting into their system and seeing where it goes and then progressing from there. He's getting these young kids who, should be maybe using a gram a week and have them using 10 grams a week and burning themselves out long before they have to.
Are some of the young guys following these kinds of protocols actually making it to the stage, or are only the ones who make it to the stage the ones that figure out the old school patience method?
Well, a lot of junk's making it to the stage these days. I'm sure a lot of these people are doing these things and going to the stage. Now, we don't know how they look, and we know at every show that there's a good portion and a good percentage of people who actually absolutely look like shit, but who are running tons of gear.
Wasn't that always true, though?
It was always true. It was always true, and it's true now. It's just the numbers are higher. Like back in the day, you'd have like 2 people on stage at a show who have no business being on stage at a show, and now you have 20.
Oh wow, really?
But you have more people overall competing as well.
Yeah, because it's easier now.
The percentage is the same. But yeah, I mean, he's influencing people, and I don't have the stats on how many of his followers are actually using. First of all, it requires money to buy all this shit. Even if you have a good source, you're going to be putting out a lot of money for gear.
Yeah,
when you're doing 10 grams a week, do you realize that is loading up a 3cc syringe 2 or 3 times a day?
Oh,
every day.
Wow.
To get that kind of milligrams in.
I just don't know how the body can take it.
The body can't take that unless the body is 23 and hasn't broken down yet. Now, who thinks? What healthy 23-year-old kid thinks about that?
Zero. None of them.
No.
That's why they drive fast and get motorcycles and shit like that.
That's exactly why.
Has he admitted that it might have been a mistake to do that?
No, I have to follow up on that. I have not seen. I think he's just at the very end of the bulking part.
Yeah.
I saw a picture where he does look very, very full. But again, you don't need to go through what he went through. Obviously, and again, it's more sensationalistic to have him present this than it would be for him to say, okay, I'm about to go on this diet and eat the same thing every day for the next 12 weeks, and I'm going to gain 10 pounds. I'll keep you posted. Yeah. Z.
That's the problem with bodybuilding in general, from my point of view, from being a filmmaker, is it's really kind of boring. It's boring and repetitive. And once you've presented that, oh my God, these people are robots that lock into this repetitive routine, and you've established that, you can only show that so many times.
So many times, right.
So you got
How many times can you show me eating a can of tuna?
Well, I made quite a montage of that, actually.
Yes. And it's disgusting. So, Bostin understands, look, this is so much more interesting to everyone. It's got me talking, doesn't it?
But right? It is as relevant to real bodybuilding as Evel Knievel jumping the Snake River Canyon is to real motorcycle driving.
That's right. Exactly. But the world tuned into Evel. And he did that, didn't they?
Except he was no longer on a motorcycle. He was in a rocket car.
Rocket ship.
Which is completely ridiculous.
Right.
By the way, the other thing I bet my audience is that you would say, back in my day, and you did about 5 minutes ago.
I did?
Yeah, I knew I could get you to say both those things.
I think I said back in the day.
Close enough.
Oh, you bastard.
Well, this is fascinating. We're going to have to keep an eye on Bostin and maybe check in on him again and see what he's up to, because it really is interesting. It is, and he definitely keeps it interesting. And and to his credit,
He's very, very entertaining, and this is why he's as popular as he is. But, again, it brings up a thing that I see as a trend in no one being able to stick with a viable, effective protocol for any length of weeks in a row, which I think in the long run is just detrimental and unhealthy and unnecessary.
I hear you. All right, Dave. Thanks a lot. Thanks for stopping by.
Always a pleasure.
See you next week. When I was initially thinking about starting this podcast and talked to people about it, a lot of them told me that they thought that, quote unquote, meathead bodybuilders wouldn't be interested in the off-topic articles. I never like to underestimate people, because I know many bodybuilders personally who are interested in many topics besides just how to get big and lumpy. And true to form, some of the most enthusiastic reviews have been for the intellectual pieces, and that's really satisfying. So thanks everyone for that. And here's another one. This week's off-topic article is really several articles mashed together with some added stuff by me. And it's about fake news. Now that's a term that has been bandied about a lot recently, but I think we need to take a second to talk about what that really is and how to guard against spreading it. Sometimes fake news is just distorted news, partly true, but exaggerated in some way in order to appeal to a certain demographic and make them click. You have to realize that the creators of these articles get paid by the click, and they know that negative posts that make people angry get shared far more than posts that are positive. So it's in their interests to rile you up. Many of them have zero journalistic integrity and will write anything to outrage you. Most of what you see on the internet is false or distorted to some degree. I'm going to say that again. Most of what you are seeing on the internet is false or distorted to some degree. And to be clear, I am talking about misleading information aimed at inciting both liberals and conservatives. No one is safe from this. Some of the most common distortions are often great quotes or speeches attributed to someone famous in order to give it more weight. There was one a few years ago about young people that was floating around, and it was attributed to Bill Cosby. Now this was before the rape accusations, which have since destroyed any credibility his name might have had. And another one claimed to have been penned by Robin Williams, and neither one of those were true. There was another one recently attributed to Bill Gates, which was a fine speech called The Rules Kids Won't Learn in School. It was great, but he didn't write it. So anyway, this first bit I'm going to read to you comes from something called Channel 4 Fact Check. And as they say about themselves on their website, Channel 4 Fact Check goes behind the spin to dig out the truth and separate political fact from fiction. You can find it at www.channel4.com. What follows is a transcript with a little added by me of a short video that they produced and posted on their site and on their Facebook page. Here it goes. Want to tell the difference between real and fake news? Here are 3 quick tips for simple fact-checking. Step 1. First, take a look at the website. It may mimic the real news site, but often the URL is wrong, as in the case of the fake abcnews.com website, which has an additional .co at the end. Look for that. Some sites will actually admit that their stories are made up, but with a carefully hidden disclaimer. Are all of the articles anonymous? Are there no bylines? You mean to tell me no reporters are willing to take responsibility for these articles? Are you able to find the site's owners and contact them? If not, can you trust the journalism? Step 2. Check the sources. Is there a shocking quote from a public figure? Check the exact phrase in a search engine. You can search by date and within specific websites. If the words weren't reported at the time, they could simply be invented. Step 3. Check the images. Hoaxers sometimes use real images. but then they lie about when and where they were taken. Use Google Images to find out more about the photo. Try to see if you can find at least 3 different sites that aren't just reposting from the same source to corroborate the truth of the photo. Debunking fake news is often easy and can take seconds. If everyone checks before they share, the hoaxes won't go viral and will all kill fake news. Pretty good, right? This next part is from USA Today, and it has appeared a few other places. As usual, it's hard to pin down exactly where stories originate these days. The good ones get shared and reshared until their origin is obscured. But this writer adds a few more good rules to follow. First, does it make you mad? False reports often target emotions with claims of outlandish spending or unpatriotic words or deeds. If common sense tells you it can't be true, it may not be. If it's real, other news sites are likely reporting it. That's a big one. How is the writing? Caps lock and multiple exclamation points don't have a place in real newsrooms. I'll expand on that later in my addendum at the end. Who are the writers and the people in the story? Google names for clues to see if they are legitimate or not. What are fact-checking sites like Snopes.com and factcheck.org finding? And lastly, it might be satire. Sometimes foolish stories aren't really meant to fool. Now back to me. Now I know that most of you aren't going to take the time to do all this, and it is really satisfying to share a story that confirms everything we hate about the other side, a particular person or topic. But at the very least, I implore you to think a moment before you share. Spreading misinformation does very little to advance your cause, whatever it may be. In fact, it undermines your cause when it is found out that the information you are sharing isn't true. You know, the boy who cried wolf and all that. So I'd like to finish by adding a few of my own observations. These are what I consider a few telltale signs that you are being manipulated. And you can do these without having to do any double checking at all. We all know by now not to trust any article if it contains any one of these following phrases in its title. One weird trick to, you won't believe what happens next, this could be the most important thing written by, the outcome of this seemingly generic event will shock you, so-and-so drops a bombshell, Hillary was right, or Trump was right. These are tabloid titles, not worthy of good journalism. Hold that clicker finger and skip them. But there are more subtle giveaways as well. Take this headline, for instance. This video should cost Hillary the black vote. Really? Should it? Is that your opinion, Mr. or Ms. writer of this piece? Well, then this is an editorial, not unbiased news reporting. Here's what a real headline for a story like that would sound like if a real reporter wrote it. Hillary Clinton's remarks about African American voters causing some controversy. See what I did there? But it's not quite as irresistible to your mouse finger, though, is it? Here's another. Disgraced newsman Dan Rather lectures Donald Trump on good journalism. And good journalism is in quotes. You think you're going to get good, unbiased journalism from this piece? Talk about hypocritical. The article, by the way, is by Greg P. No last name given. I wonder why. Those two are pro-conservative, obviously. But just to show that this is happening on both sides, here's a dead giveaway from an anti-Trump article. Quote, the obnoxiously ostentatious billionaire had expressed a desire to use his own private jet rather than resort to Air Force One, end quote. If there are insults in the article, forget it. A real reporter would never write like that. I stopped reading that one immediately. All of these distortions and misrepresentations fall into the category of what we call clickbait. And a great book to help you become more aware of this phenomenon is Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator by the marketer, public relations director, and media strategist Ryan Holiday. Look it up on Amazon. It will change forever the way you look at stories appearing in your Facebook newsfeed. Now, these things don't automatically mean the story is 100% false, but it does mean you are getting a skewed viewpoint. And wouldn't you rather just know the straight facts and then make up your own mind? Check out www.factcheck.org/hot-topics, and you will get a taste of just how many things floating around Facebook that you have taken for granted as true were misrepresented or distorted. Or try this. Try Googling fake news in Macedonia to really have your mind blown. In the end, all of this might be for naught, because there are powerful, moneyed forces working to create a supercomputer-powered propaganda machine that can actually affect your mind and the outcome of elections without you knowing it. I know this sounds like science fiction, but I read it online. Wait, should I question the articles that tell me to question other articles? I think my head's going to explode. In any case, check it out for yourself. The article is in The Guardian, and it explains how billionaire Robert Mercer is at the center of a multi-million-dollar propaganda network. I include that link with the other links in the index to this episode. The irony is that the internet was supposed to help eradicate ignorance, but like so many technological innovations in the past, it is being used for evil, and not good much of the time, and right under your nose. Human beings just suck sometimes. We may be living in a post-truth world, but you don't have to give in to it without a fight. Check before you share, or when in doubt, don't share. If the information is true, your friends will find out through legitimate news sources very quickly without your help. Thanks for listening to Voices of Bodybuilding. Just a reminder that you can send me articles to be considered for this podcast at mike@mikepulcinella.com. They can be articles you find or pieces you write yourself. So till next time, stay active and stay healthy.